Hi everyone, my name's Ian McCollum and I am addicted to French rifles. And so when Old Western Scrounger got in another batch of really interesting French surplus, direct from France, I had to do a video on it. I think that's kind of expected, kind of like I don't really have a choice in this. I never would have expected 5 years ago that we would be seeing brand new from French government storage surplus still coming into the US. I thought those days were over. They are clearly not over. Old Western Scrounger, aka Navy Arms, has found some cool stash of guns because stuff is actually getting sold and coming into the US. They did FRF2 snipers first a number of years ago, which was an amazing score. They then followed that up with Mac 1950 pistols and British number 4 Enfields that were dropped to the French resistance during World War II and stashed away by the French government. Those are a super cool piece of little niche history. But what they have just recently gotten in are a batch of both Moss 3651 grenade launching rifles and Moss 4956 semi-autos. And they are in absolutely gorgeous condition because this is how the French military stored rifles that were put away for essentially for a rainy day. Old Western Scrounger, by the way, full disclosure here, they know I'm a sucker for French rifles, so they offered to give me the buddy price on one of these two if I did a video. Like, how am I going to turn that down? So I am taking the buddy price on the 4956 and keeping it to do some shooting with myself. But let's go ahead and take a closer look. Let me show you what these guns are supposed to look like when they are stored properly. All right, if you aren't familiar with the Moss model 1949/56, I of course have a full video on the history and the development of this rifle, and I'll link to that down in the description below. But this is what a 4956 looks like after it has been essentially rebuilt to like new specifications by the French government and put into storage just in case. This is, of course, something that everybody does. They always take their older obsolete guns and you hold on to them because, yeah, you never know. You may want to give them away to someone, or you may eventually just sell them to a bunch of collector Americans. So we got our model designation caliber. These are in 7.5 French, 7.5 by 54 millimeter. It's pretty darn close to identical to 7.62 NATO in terms of actual ballistics, but not interchangeable. Serial number is here on the side. This is a G block, a little bit later, actually fairly late production. All right, and then this little rectangle here with the P73, that is a refurbish mark. That indicates that this gun was rebuilt to brand new specifications at a French arsenal in 1973. So when that's done, any parts that need replacement will be replaced. The wood furniture will be replaced if it's banged up, and this one was because it does not have a roundel here on the stock. Normally, when the rifle was accepted into military service, it got a round stamp mark with, among other things, the month and year of its acceptance. But when guns were refurbished, if they got a new stock, they didn't restamp that roundel on it. So I believe all of the 4956s that Old Western Scrounger has have new stocks on them. That's, I should say, new old stocks, I guess. This is French military rebuild. This is not something that was done commercially here in the US. Thanks to our unfortunate import laws, they do have to be marked made in France. Here it's in French, fabriqué en France. And then they are import stamped right down here from Navy Arms. I like that. Some of the older imports had the whole import mark here. This is also nice in that this is the optics mount. So if you do put a scope on this, it hides that part of the import mark, which is kind of cool. OWS has a couple different grades of both of these guns, and one of the options they have is for guns that still have the original Arsenal tags on them. So this is the Lyon Arsenal, and it's just marking that this had the sights checked or zeroed at 10 meters. Unfortunately, the bottom part here is pretty worn down, pretty faded, but it looks like this is 1989. This gun had its sights zeroed and was put away for storage. Curious to take a look at the inside here. Let's just see what this looks like inside. The 4956 is a very mechanically simple gun, just actual direct gas impingement. Gas blows out of that into a blind hole in the top of the bolt carrier. By the way, if you shoot a 49-56, I would highly recommend getting either a titanium firing pin or a spring-loaded firing pin. These have quite heavy firing pins. They didn't originally have a firing pin return spring. That was done because the French military ammo has very heavy primers in it. If you shoot this with American, modern sporting commercial ammo, it is possible to get doubles on it because you'll get the occasional slam fire. There's enough mass in this firing pin that when you drop the bolt, it will occasionally fire. So be aware of that. Be doubly careful when you're shooting a 49-56. When you close the bolt, make sure it's always pointed in the safe direction, just in case. And I highly recommend spring-loaded firing pins for these. But boy, look at that. That's the bolt face there is basically like new. This whole gun is basically like new. The other pattern of rifle they have is the Moss 3651. Moss model 1936-51. Serial number is back here. We have, again, our import marks on the bottom, which is pretty cool. They're as small as they legally can be, and really pretty subtle marks. So it sucks that we have to stamp this sort of stuff on guns that get imported, but this is better than most ways that people choose to do it. So this particular rifle still has the original stock that it had when it was first accepted into military service. So it still has that roundel stamp. This says Février 1956, I believe. Février is February, so that's when the gun was accepted into service. This particular one also still has its arsenal tag attached, although a lot of that has faded off, but there it is. And then we have this cool bit of hardware out on the front end. This is a grenade launcher sight. So you push in that button, you can lift it up to two different positions. There's an anti-personnel and an anti-tank version. One's direct fire, one's indirect fire. And then to adjust the range of the grenade, you have this thumb screw wheel here that allows you to extend this out. The grenade looks like this because, of course, I have an inert French Cold War rifle grenade. That's a model 1952 rifle grenade. And at this point, the French were using the same standard diameter as NATO rifle grenades. So France never did adopt infantry rifle standardization with NATO. They never did adopt 7.62 by 51 millimeter as an infantry rifle cartridge. They did use it as a machine gun cartridge, but they did decide that it would be a good idea to have interchangeable rifle grenades. So that's what you've got here. Now, the idea with this range adjustment is the farther out this goes, the less time that this grenade is being pushed by the blank cartridge that is propelling it. So the farther out I screw this, the lower the range number gets. This is in tens of meters. So right here, we are at 240 meters, right there. And it'll go up to a maximum of 380. Now, originally, these rifles had bayonets, the same standard spike bayonet that you find in every other pattern of Moss 36. The batch imported by Old Western Scrounger, unfortunately, does not have bayonets. Not sure what happened to them, not sure where they went, but they are not in these rifles. So it will fit a standard Moss 36 bayonet. If you want to find a replacement bayonet, if you get one of these, that's the pattern to look for. They have a couple different price points for these guns. The 3651s start at $900 and go up. The 4956s start at, I believe, $1,225. And the different prices depend on, they have a couple different condition grades, although frankly, I think everything out of this group is going to be gorgeous compared to a lot of the other stuff on the market. And they are all in original French refurb condition, not reworked here in the US. And then they also have options. The pricing can vary depending on whether they have the tags and the stock roundels. All right, so bringing cool, brand new looking French surplus firearms into the US is an activity I wholeheartedly approve of, and I am a total sucker. And if you do it, I will totally make a video on your stuff as well. Hit me up if you're doing it. Anyway, hopefully you guys found this interesting. You're still here, so I guess you couldn't have found it that boring. But yeah, it's a cool opportunity for anyone who wants to get a couple of really good condition French rifles to round out their collection. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching.